Hello, this is David with 3 Arcs. This is the weekly update from 3/19/2024 to 3/24/2024 of my update number 2 for the Verbobonc Campaign of the year 576 Common Year. This is my campaign website that I'm offering publicly for free, pertaining to the World of Greyhawk campaign that's around the Temple of Elemental Evil. The Temple of Elemental Evil campaign is run in the Cron Hills and the Gnarly Forest and the Viscounty of Verbobonc. So that entire area needs to be flushed out and filled out. The module itself, written by Gary Gygax, even stated that he expected the Dungeon Master to flush the world out around it, to go ahead and finish creating all the locations in Nulb and other locations throughout the Viscounty so you can run this campaign on an epic scale. So obviously the Village of Hamlet's already been done, and only 4 or 5 of the shops, or only 4 or 5 of the locations in Nulb was flushed out originally with the module. And then Goodman Games went ahead and flushed out some more of it. And other DMs throughout the years actually flushed out the entire village. And I've done that myself too. So I took it upon myself, using the Village of Hamlet as a guideline, as a base, to actually flush out and create and key every village in the area, so I can truly turn this campaign into a sandbox. So the players can start anywhere, like at the city of Verbobonc or any other village, and they can start exploring, start following up on these rumors, these bandit raids that are plaguing the merchant ways throughout the Viscounty, or who's attacking the gnome merchants and what's causing that disruption of trade, or what's causing the Blackthorn orcs migrating war bands throughout the forest, causing havoc and raiding into the Viscounty. So all these things could be a build-up to the campaign. Because, as I stated before, that at this point, it's been 7 years since the Battle of Emerald Meadows. That means all the lords and the people of Verbobonc and the world are satisfied that the Temple of Elemental Evil uprising, the second uprising, was put down. And it's no longer a threat anymore, that the world is safe and life can continue as always. And it has been. Whatever vestiges of monsters that were out there over the last 7 years, adventurers have gone down there in the area and hunted them down and made a name for themselves and killed and looted them. Now after 7 years, there's not much left to do. So the area has not been attracting adventurers anymore. But lately, there's been a lot of problems. Banditry's been plaguing the roads again, and obviously the gnomes are having issues. There's a lot of political tension between the nobles of Verbobonc and the Free Assembly of the Gnomes over in the Green Valley, and the trade between it and the gnomes within the city of Verbobonc. So the players can get involved with this sort of thing, and it'll lead them down the road, and all roads lead to the Temple of Elemental Evil, their uprising again. But at the beginning of the campaign, nobody knows that. And so the players are out there, they as players probably know this, of course, because that's why they're playing in the campaign. But their characters don't know. Their characters just think that, we heard of some problems, we're going to go investigate and put a stop to it and make a name for ourselves and go up levels and become rich and powerful. So the Dungeon Master will lead them around on different tidbits, different carrots, quests and missions from the nobles, from the locals, different rumors that are going around that they can follow up on. And I've created a lot of that in the 500 square mile area, no matter where the player comes from as a background. You'd have rangers and druids from the Gnarly Forest. You could have clerics and paladins and fighters from Verbobonc or any other small cities. The gnome players can be from Sheer Knob or the Greenway Valley. Halflings could be from Hummingbird's End, whatever the name of that village is called. And there's a lot of places that the players could be coming from, even from Valuna and Firandi, even Greyhawk. Divers, they have an Assassin's Guild and a Thieves Guild, so does Verbobonc. So these players could all come from anywhere, and it's all going to be flushed out and keyed out in this campaign. And this website will have an article for every organization, NPC, shop, village, town, what have you. So that way, all that information is referenceable on the internet, so people can actually go to the website and immediately refer to that information right then and there. What's great about how I'm doing it is I'm taking my cues from how they format old school essentials, which pretty much is the industry standard. They set the bar of how good a game should be formatted, where it's highly referenceable. It's all bullet pointed. All the information is on one page. You're not searching through the whole book looking for some piece of information that's buried in a slog on page 185 somewhere that you don't remember where it's at. And it's really hard to be able to access that kind of information live at the table. So I designed my pages to be referenceable right there on the fly while the DM's running at the table. Also, what's great about World Anvil is if you want to use that, you don't have to log into World Anvil to use it. But if you do, you can have access to their session reports. And their session report tool will actually help you generate a session report and pull all this information into the report. So that way the players will have that information accessible to them too, to reference it when they're reading the report. Like if they forgot like what Sheer Knob is, or something about the Cron Hills, the Velverdiva River, or a Grey Elf, all those key words will be linkable to those articles. It's going to be laid out so it's quick access, so any player or DM can get to this information quickly without wasting a lot of time. Because I'm spending countless hours of time working on this, which is crazy. I usually get done every day about 3 to 4 articles a day because I have to do the artwork to go with it. Because I have to follow the WotC, fan content policy. And so that way, I can't just copy paste this stuff and I can't take artwork from somebody else. So I have to rewrite these articles in my own words and paraphrase and bullet point it and format it and condense it. I highly recommend reading the original material, because that's a full article with a full flavor of what the author was originally talking about, like the Old Faith. Huge article, lots of information about the Old Faith. It takes forever to read, but once you do read it, it's worth it. But you really can't reference that in the game. It's too much. It's hard to use it in the game at the moment, especially when you just want to reference it real quick, look up some key point, and that's what this article is for. If you look at the article here, you'll see that it's really easy to find out a specific piece of information or lore. So now this session report. So this video is going to be an update number 2 in the series I'm making of my progress from week to week of how far the website's going. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I've done so far, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and show a bigger screen of the website itself. On the left, top left, is the cover screen, the front page of the Verbobonc Campaign Guide 576 Common Year. When you first get to the website, that's the first thing you're going to see. On the right, this is my notes I took every day throughout the week of what I've completed so far. So we're just going to go use that as a reference to help me guide you through what I've done so far. So let's go ahead and scroll down. And you have the introduction. And the first thing I've added this week is I went ahead and embedded the virtual map, the interactive map. So the interactive map, basically you can scroll around, and if you move your cursor and hover over an interactive link, you can see that if you click on it, it'll pop up a little abbreviated summary of what it is. And then if you want to read the article, you actually have to click on the icon that's in this little pop-up, and it'll actually bring up the article itself. And so that article is for the Viscounty of Verbobonc, the main article for the Viscounty, which is basically has all the geographical demographics and society and the military strength, the government, all that kind of information on this page. On the right hand side is the maps I've added recently. Just while we're here, I might as well show you. I've added Sinaga Valley, which these are maps I created myself. I just added them to the website. I have not keyed those towns on this website yet. They're keyed on my private server. I just need to move them over and rewrite them and add these tags to those maps so you can click on those shops and churches and buildings and read those articles for that village. So that valley is done, the map is, and it's ready to be looked at on the website. And also there's the Viscounty of Verbobonc. And then there's Sheer Knob. Sheer Knob is the known village just south of the village of Hamlet. And we have Penwick, which is southeast of the city of Verbobonc. And in my campaign, it's one of the first villages the party goes to from the city of Verbobonc. And I'll be adding a little much more than this in the future. But I really need to focus on the city of Verbobonc and get that done before I can go any further. Because that's going to be that's my base, that's my core, that's where my campaign starts. I need to get that city done. So when it comes to navigation, it's hard for me to do some of the navigation on the way I'm showing this with my OBS software. But one of the things you can do is on the left side is those 3 bars. And if you click on it, it'll pop up a menu, a navigation menu. So let's go ahead and click on that. And as you can see, you can go to the maps. As I scroll down, the maps are available to click on as well. and the timelines. But at the top is the main table of contents. So the first thing I want to show, which is on my list here, is every day I put 2 hours of work into working on the City of Verbobonc map. I'm redrawing the map. Beans Finger did his in 2001, and so with old software. And now I'm using updated software to make it look better, and I'm also kind of smoothing it out, making it a little bit more sense, making it more up to today's standards. So I started out in Flan deities, so we'll go there first. We'll go to the Verbobonc Encyclopedia, go to deities and religions. The church organizations I kept as a separate category away from the deities, because I went ahead and I created an article for each god. And then for a lot of the gods, they have these great, huge organizations, like the Church of St. Cuthbert, so that deserved its own article separately. So that way you can actually get the paladins and clerics in there and talk more. You can drill more down with that kind of information than just putting all that on the god article. So I think the god article should just outline him as a character, as a god, the general faith, what he's all about, and then the sub-articles should be about the organization or the churches or the people in it, like the clerics and the priest and the paladins. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Flan deities. Click on that. So these are all the gods I've completed so far. So on my list, the first thing I did was Buri. I believe I said that right. Buri. It's on March 21st. I did that one, so let's go ahead and look at it. And what I did here is the Hearth Mother, and I created the artwork for it. It's a more modern uptake of the artwork, but I still did it in watercolor, so it still looks good. I also created a new holy symbol too. One of the major reasons I created artwork for the gods and created holy symbols is because many of the gods don't have artwork, and especially some of the gods don't even have any holy symbols. So just across the board, I'm just putting it out there, getting it done. That way I don't have to use anybody else's artwork on my website. Some of it, I believe I nailed it. I think it's pretty good. Some of it's kind of iffy. It's up to you to judge. But I believe overall it turned out pretty good. On the right-hand side, there's more, a menu, a navigation of content. And then I went ahead and added the Flan Pantheon gods as a menu item on the right-hand side too, so you can jump to another god from Flan. And also, I added any church links that you would have too. So on the right-hand side I put a link for the Humans of Greyhawk and the Flan, in case you needed to refer to that race for some reason, because that god is associated with them. I also created and wrote my own catchphrases and quotes, and added that. I added the specialty cleric spells as an option for your campaign. Obviously, that's going to be optional. I think it's kind of cool to be able to differentiate clerics from one another, make them unique, because a cleric of Buri would actually be quite different from a cleric of Pelor. They have very unique vibe to them. And I think it'd be kind of cool for a player to be able to have these specialty spells as a bonus to their class to help differentiate them, to make them more unique and interesting. Okay, we went back to the Flan deity and the table of contents, and the next one I did was Reo. I believe this is on Monday, so I'm starting Monday and going forward from there. So let's go ahead and look at Reo. Now Reo is interesting because I created artwork for that as well, and I noticed there wasn't really much artwork for him, and so I felt he really needed artwork because the one image of him wasn't really artwork of him. It was like artwork somebody used, they borrowed to be roughly what he looked like, and I didn't like that at all, so I just created artwork from the scratch on my own. I created some mottos, and I put all the information you need about Reo here in the Flan Pantheon. His bonus spells, of course. I created a new holy symbol. And then, also, on the right-hand side, there's a link to another article. And that article is called The Order of Reo. So we'll click on it. As you see, I briefly hovered over it, and it popped up, the article. I'll do that next time, so you don't have to go to this webpage. I'll show you how that works, what it looks like. So this is another article that I created for Reo, and this is the Order of Reo, which I just made up. That's what I call that organization for Reo. And a lot of the stuff I write out myself here just to give it some name and some structure here. And of course you get the bonus spells and notable members and the Holy Knights of Reo and their composition, their philosophy, their appearance, and all that. So this is all here to be used as an organization article. So if you have a session report or you're writing something and you want to reference to the Order of Reo, there's like 2 links there that you can use to talk about that subject. Like you want to talk about that organization or you're talking about that god. So that's what's great about that. The next one is Allotour. Let's see. Next one on the list, which I worked on Monday as well, is Allotour. Cranked that one out. Created some artwork for him because I don't believe he had any. He doesn't have an organization assigned to him, but I did create a holy symbol for him too because he didn't have one either. And I actually flushed out his clergy and the information about him more than that was actually available, so to help it be more playable in a campaign. Another thing that I added was what I found was a couple spells that the specialty priest had, and I actually created separate articles for that. So it's called Altar's Mark. This is the example that I referred to before. If you just hover your cursor over the link, it'll pop up the article so you don't have to go to it. So this is a spell that Altar clerics get. And you scroll down and it tells you all about that spell that he can cast. That specialty spell he gets at first level. And this other one is a granted power, which is called Truth Detection. And I just spelled it out here at the bottom instead of having its own article. Back to the table of contents, and my next on the list, which is the next day, is another Flan deity called Pelor. So we'll go ahead and click on Pelor here. And his article is pretty interesting because it's got some really brilliant artwork. I think is amazing that gives it a little bit more character. And if you scroll down past all his lore and information, you'll find that he has his own specialty bonus spells if you do use that. And he has several articles here associated with him. This is quite a bit more. So first we have the Church of Pelor, and that pops up to show the organization of the church. The hierarchy, the clergy, everything you need to know about that organization. It's great, especially if you have a player that, as a cleric or a paladin of Pelor, it's great to have this additional information. And then another article I wrote was the Clerics and Inquisitors of Pelor. And that's a separate article, as you can see here too. Guardians of the Doctrinal Purity. And it has everything you know about those archetypes of role-playing an Inquisitor for a Cleric of Pelor. And then the third article is the Paladins of Pelor. And we'll put my cursor over that. Now, the Paladins of Pelor have their own article as well, and it talks about them being crusaders in the Flaness, and what they wear and their appearance, the archetypes that you can roleplay as a paladin, depending on your game system, and also role-playing lore that you can use in the game. These articles are written for role-playing use. They're not codified rules like you find in like Pathfinder or 5th edition, where it's a character class with all these feats and abilities and stats and skills. It's all, codified rules. And you get plus for this and plus for that and double saves or whatever jargon those systems use. You can actually role play these characters as like an Inquisitor or a Paladin Order of the Sun Wardens. And basically, when you role play this stuff, it's all based on how you act, how you role play, how you present yourself, the clothing you're wearing, the style, the armor you're wearing, your class and race, of course, and how you interact with the world around you, like the leaders, like the bishops and the cardinals, how they treat you, how the guards and the nobles treat you because they recognize you as in that position of authority. That's your job. It's like a police officer. If you're out in public and a police officer pulls you over and stops you, from your experience of being in society, what to expect from a police officer, and you have to respect him and respond to him in a certain way because you understand that that's his position. Same thing with this. When a player is like an Inquisitor and he obviously is recognized as one, or people know that he is one, they'll treat him accordingly. You don't have to be a special class to be treated that way, to have these special powers or abilities when it comes to role playing. You still get abilities and classes. You still get abilities and skills and things like that, just normally role playing your class. You don't need a feat or a skill to tell you that you can do something good or not. I usually determine that by their background, their character, their type, and their position when it comes to role-playing in a game. Okay, back to the table of contents. On the next day, the 23rd, I decided to add the Earth Dragon. The Earth Dragon, it isn't really part of the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign or really a presence in the Verbobonc area, but I was thinking it could be, because it's connected with the Slavers. And the Slavers are connected with the Temple of Elemental Evil, and also certain NPCs within the city of Verbobonc. So it's possible, if the Dungeon Master wants to, have agents of the Earth Dragon messing around Verbobonc. Or the party could come across agents of the Earth Dragon when they're dealing with, like, maybe some of the agents from the Wild Coast that are coming into the Viscounty and getting slaves. Because there's that highway that goes right through the Gnarly Forest, through Nulb, that's a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves are actually brought to the Wild Coast from the Viscounty or the Gnarly Forest along that road. So it's quite possible you might run into Earth Dragon cultists along the way, or be involved. Maybe there's a leader, and he's actually organizing, pulling strings, and doing things in Nulb or something. So I figured, I better add him, so that way he'll be here to be used in the campaign if you want to. And everything you need to know about their temples and clergy is here, including a holy symbol. I made 2 holy symbols, but I didn't know if you guys wanted black or white or color, so I just did both. Everything you need to know about that clergy is here in the article, so that way you can use it. Okay, also that day, in the middle of the week, I spent a couple more hours working on the City of Verbobonc map, which is so boring, but I'm doing it. Oh, so boring. I don't know, you focus on something like that, it's kind of mindless. Versus writing, it just depends. This is the way you think, the way you focus and concentrate. It's just some people it's harder than others to be able to focus on a certain thing. And for me, staring at a map for more than an hour just really drives me nuts. It gets me. I get bored and I just don't want to think about it anymore. So I only spend an hour or 2 every day on maps. That's all I can do. I spend most of my time writing articles and creating artwork. I find that more energizing for some reason. Okay, that day I'm still working on the Flan deities, the last of it. We were looking at Elona. Now I'll pull that up, and I created more artwork for that as well. Everything you need to know about Elona and the worship of Elona and the clergy is here in the article. What I did also, which was a huge article, was the Old Faith, and some of these gods you see, I actually linked them on the right hand side to the Old Faith, because you're going to need to reference that, because these gods are very important in the Old Faith, like Elona is. And so this huge article, you can pop it up. I highly suggest launching the entire webpage so you can read it, because there's a lot of information here. I'm just scrolling and I'm scrolling, and so much here. And this is nothing compared to the original material. This is condensed into bullet points, into vital facts, highly referenceable to the game when you're running it, when you want to look something up, especially when you're in the middle of role-playing. That's what's so useful about that. We'll get to that later. So I gave you some catchphrases and some prayers and things like that, and a new holy symbol. If you want to get a copy of my holy symbols and artwork, I have an Etsy store, the Three Orcs Etsy store, and I actually create pins and stickers of the holy symbols. I'm starting to put those out there now, and t-shirts. So you can actually, I have a player that has a holy symbol sticker that he got from a store, and he put it on his character sheet, and he thinks it's really cool. They come in the sizes of 2 inches all the way up to 6 inches wide. Okay, let's go through the last one I did on, I think it was Saturday. The last Flan deity was Pelor. So we'll go ahead and pull him up. I guess I should comment on my thoughts on these things too. As you can tell, I started focusing on the Flan Pantheon. But the Pantheons of all the races, they kept adding gods throughout the years, the different versions of D&D. The original box set was, a set amount of gods. And then they added more gods especially when 3rd edition came out. And then 4th and 5th. I decided, since we're running the Verbobonc, the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign, 576 Common Year, that I probably should do the cutoff at 3rd edition. Because 3rd edition came out with some really good information, some lore for the gods, and created more gods that was needed. Because there's huge gaps in the pantheons. It wasn't really fully fleshed out with all the gods that you need for the pantheon. And they did that quite well, a lot of it in 3rd edition. 4th edition, I guess you'll see a lot of the comments about that on the internet if you watch some YouTube videos, that they deviated from lore, from core. That's not canon. They deviated a lot from core lore, from canon, a lot. They changed things, and a lot of people were not happy with it. And so I went ahead and just did a cutoff. I'm not doing anything from 4th edition. One of the main reasons is this is the 576 Common Year campaign. I don't feel like I need to do anything. I don't feel like I need to include that information into this campaign, because I don't think it's actually going to be used or needed. Now, of course, you as a DM could reach out and use that information if you want. But but I just won't have it. I just don't have it offered on my website as an article for that information. I also cut off the timelines, the history and stuff. Anything after the year like 578 Common Year, I just omitted. It can be used as future events in your campaign. So, whatever you find out there on the internet about like the Greyhawk Wars or something, you can use that as like a guideline of what could happen. And it'll help you run the campaign. I feel that these events are waiting for you to use if you want to. Because that's what I'm doing with the Living Greyhawk series. I'm ready to use that stuff when the dates come up, when the campaign continues on past 576 Common Year. I think what I'm doing in my campaign is I'm escalating that. Just because something happened in the year 598 Common Year in the Living Greyhawk series doesn't mean I can't have that event happen sooner in my campaign. It's just to make it interesting. So that's how I'm handling it. But that information won't be on this website right now. I'll start creating modules and adventures based on some of that information in the future, but I need to get this foundation done first. I need to get the city of Verbobonc done, and then I need to go out and get all these villages done, and then I'll start doing that. So back to the Pelor article, same thing. Everything you need to know about Pelor is here. And if we scroll down, past the bonus spells, of course, we have more articles. So on the right, I created 3 articles: the Church of Pelor, Clerics and Inquisitors of Pelor, and the Paladins of Pelor and the Old Faith. And I showed you this earlier. So that's all there, and I did that, I think, on Friday. And I created some prayers. I wrote out some prayers and some sermons to use in role-playing. I like to give players examples of things like that to encourage them to create their own prayers and sermons to help them role-play more. Sometimes they get stuck and they don't know what to expect of them when it comes to role-playing. So I like to give them something to chew on, something to think about, and set a good example. It helps encourage them role-play more. Okay, so back to my list here. I continued more work on my city of Verbobonc. We did Pelor. Now let's go ahead and start. I think that was the last god that I actually created for Flan. I'm not sure if Flan is completely done. I think I might be missing a few more. I'm going to have to check the 3rd edition gods and make sure I didn't omit. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to bring up. I omitted hero gods on purpose. They don't really come into effect in the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. And I feel like all this is already too much already. And I've never seen a player actually use, or a Dungeon Master really use these hero gods much in a campaign. Especially the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign in the Verbobonc area. They just don't come up. They could, as you as a DM, could grab one of these gods and make an appearance and mess with the players or the campaign in some way. But I'm not going to go ahead and put them on my website for now. If any of you guys feel like I need to, let me know in the comments below or come to my Patreon and tell me. And I'll go ahead and start adding them if you give me a good reason. But right now, I'm just trying to get things done. And I'm trying to make my work as easy as possible. So I just started omitting the hero gods to help speed things up. But I can always add them later. Just let me know if you need them. Okay, back to the table of contents. We're going to go to the Oeridian gods. And the first thing I created was Lure. I liked how she turned out. I think that's great. It's line art, right? And watercolor. Cool. And I like how the artwork, the feather in the book, and the fonts. I think that really turned out. Oh, yeah, that's right. My cues about artwork. So not only do I try to do line art and sketching and watercolors to give it that more vintage look, but with the gods, they all look good, of course, because they're gods. Somebody commented, how come all your guys look so good? Well, they're the gods. Wait till I start making the NPCs. Some of them are pretty ugly. I try to get them to look how they look kind of like on their plane of existence, the realm. So, that plane that sees in right here, I have to look close. My screen's kind of, is Arborea? So it's kind of supposed to represent Arborea in the background, in general terms. It's probably not exact, but it's, it's vaguely that way. So it gives them that otherworldly look. That's what I was going for. To make them kind of depict them as a god. That image of... Because another thing I noticed about artwork, especially the bad artwork out there over the years, it's just a guy. Some of that artwork is just a dude on a street in a city just hanging out. It could be anybody. And that's supposed to be a god. That doesn't really depict the god. I mean, sure, I'm sure if you come across the god in that situation, he could give off that image on purpose because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to blend in and whatever he's up to, right? He could actually portray that, right? But I'm just trying to show artwork depicting that character as a god, and I think it should be godly looking, otherworldly, a deity, a powerful divine entity. So that's what I was going for with this artwork. All right, so then of course I created another holy symbol for that character, and black and white this time, line art. And this character this goddess doesn't have a church. I didn't create one for her, so what you see here is what you get for this god, which is still quite a bit of information. You could still play a great cleric of Lear if you wanted to with this information, but there's no real huge organizations beyond the information here on this article. It's not big and elaborate like Heronius. The next one I created was Marika. Marika turned out pretty nice, I think. Marika turned out pretty nice. It's more vintage looking, which is cool. Basically, she doesn't have a huge organization as well, so everything you need to know about her is here on this one page. And I gave her some quotes and catchphrases and a new holy symbol too, the bread basket of wheat. And another thing I wanted to point out is, see at the bottom, I put creative origins. So the wikis and stuff, they reference credits, a lot of credits, like a lot. They're really exhaustive on that. And I didn't really know if I needed to do that here or not, because this is supposed to be fan content. And I do have on every page at the bottom, if I scroll all the way down, I have all that, which covers copyright, fan content policy, right? In general terms. But it's not specific like this is. So I added this just for the heck of it to see how it looked, because this god came from somebody. I can't. My screen's so small. So Douglas Niles of Against the Cult of the Reptile God. He actually created that for that module, so I figured I'd add this just to show it, to give credit where credit's due. But I don't know if I need to do this for every single god and everything I do on every article. I didn't know if this stuff down below is enough. So if I get a complaint or get some advice from you guys, I can start adding that stuff, adding more. The wiki stuff is really exhaustive. It's like a huge list of every reference they could possibly find. I think it's kind of ridiculous. It's just too much. Why have to add all that? Maybe add just a couple of the more important references. The beginnings, like the 1984 one, not the 2002 one, right? That's how I've been thinking about it. I'm not an expert, but if somebody would tell me otherwise to correct something, I'll go ahead and do it, because I'm working on this every day. I can easily edit this stuff easily at the spur of the moment. Okay, after Marika was Kurul. I suck at pronunciations, don't I? I'm a great DM, but I'm not the best at pronunciating certain words like that, especially if they're not standard English words. Marika, demigoddess of agriculture, farming, and the home. She doesn't have her own organization, so everything you know about her is here right on the page. And I did it for her as well. At the very bottom, I put creative origins. Okay, the last on the list is Coral, the green-eyed god. Artwork kind of reflects that, and that artwork reflects Limbo, where he's from. I feel that Limbo kind of looks like that plane that he rules. He doesn't have an organization as well, so everything you would know about him is all here. Clergy, everything you need to know, and the temples and all that stuff. Specialty priest information. I created a new, from scratch, icon. I believe it turned out really well. I'm really proud of that. I think it's cool. It's a clasping hand with a broken coin. I think that turned out perfect. Of course, artwork's subjective. I liked it. I'm sure there's a lot of people. I'm sure, of course there's negative people and they hate everything. One of my players is that way. One of my players, he's a teacher at a school, and everything I show him, he hates. He goes, I don't like that. That's not like the 1979 first edition Player's Handbook artwork. I don't picture that in my mind. That's not what I pictured in my mind. He's always saying that. And then usually like a week or two later, he'll admit to liking some of it. He goes, yeah, I kind of like that. I think that works. So that's like an immediate reaction to a lot of people. And I can be the same way. People always like what they created and not like what other people created. I'm trying to be general, not acceptable in my artwork to fit the need for this project. I'm not trying to create anything really off or different. I'm trying to stay within a certain window of acceptable quality and art style. So I'm making sure it's always watercolor. I'm always making sure it's line art and sketching. I don't want anything that's like cartoony. Some of it kind of borderlines on cartoony, I admit, but I try to avoid that. Right now we're doing the gods. They're kind of over the top as gods as an art concept. But you'll see some of my NPCs look more like normal people. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at one of my maps. So, Verbobonc, I created this, I don't know, 3 years ago, I think. So this is the example I was talking about. So you can zoom in pretty good. It's awesome, and all the buildings are numbered. They're keyed on my private site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a tag to each of these numbers, and you can be able to click on that name, and it'll pull up the article. So I try to do things organically, so it makes sense, so it flows like a natural shaped village, the way the roads and the buildings and the farm fields, how it kind of flows together. It's hard to do exactly, but I'm not a city planner. But I try to do it. Like now that I'm looking at this, I don't like the stream. I think it's too straight. It should have been more curvy. I just realized that after the fact. I mean, it's okay, but if I were to do that again, I'd make it curve in naturally through the terrain a little bit more. Things like that. That's what I look for. I like how the river turned out, though. I think the river looks pretty natural. I created embankments and trees up against the river and overhanging and things like that, and rocks. So I try to do that. Farm fields. You can only put so much detail around the farms. I usually add like haystacks and carts and wagons and stuff like that. I got cows out there somewhere. That's the cemetery to the east of Penwick. And I also, that Penwick name I put that name because that road leads to Penwick. That's why I put that there. Sorry. And to the north, see, that road leads to Verbobonc. And that road leads to Mall. And this road to the south leads to Cienega Valley. So when I create these maps, I gotta make sure I create them blank with no tags for this website, so I can add the tags on the website so they're interactive. But I also create another version of this map with the tags, with the labels, so that way you can download that on my Patreon website separately for free and use it for your own purposes, like print it up or something for your game. So that's a good example of a map. It's just at the very top. So we go back to our main page. I embedded the I've embedded the Verbobonc map on the main page, but you can also open it separately on its own page as well, so it's not windows like this. You can open it up separately, so it takes up the whole screen. I need to start creating these villages. Like that's Verbobonc right there where my cursor is. Oh, you can't see my cursor, sorry. In the middle there, I'll zoom in. That's Verbobonc. So I'll put a tag on top of that, and I'll say Verbobonc, and you'll be able to click on it, and I'll pull up that map when I get there, when I do that. But I want to finish the city first. I keep telling you guys that. I need to finish this city. What do you guys think of what I did here with the city? Zoomed out, I think it looks great. It looks like a big capital city, right? It's not just one icon. I just put a whole bunch of stuff together to kind of roughly form the village, the city how it is. And then, but if you zoom in all the way, I don't know, it looks like a mass of icons. I'm not sure. I think it looks okay. And also the main map that you can download will be higher resolution than this, because World Anvil has a limit on file size, which is like 20 megabytes. And the original file size for my Viscounty map is like 60 megabytes. And I think that's what I offer on my Patreon to download. It's a big file. Something like that. I can't promise you to be exact. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so if you like what you see and you want to support me further, please, I welcome you to come to the Patreon. you can join for free, and you can get all this stuff for free, of course, because this is a watchy fan content stuff. And I also offer it on my Discord channel too. Over on my Discord channel, we talk about this stuff. Every article that we write or any artwork that we do, we're all talking about it in the Discord channel, and people are pitching in ideas and actually sending me articles for me to do. Because I'm working with a lot of these guys and from the Living Greyhawk series. So they're always correcting me, or we're actually discussing things, how it should be presented for the year 576 common year and the area of the Verbobonc Viscounty. That's all it has to be taken into consideration versus the Living Greyhawk material. So that's all has to be heavily discussed and worked out so that the campaign works. So you're welcome to join us there too, and help join the conversation and the creative design of this whole thing. If you want to support me more, of course, you can always join my Patreon and support me that way, because I don't get paid for any of this, and I spend at least 6 to 7 hours a day on this. I'm semi-retired. I work remotely, but I'm still spending a lot of time on this when I should be doing other things with my life. But I find this fun. It's really entertaining, and I really enjoy it. So,
did you enjoy video? Consider tossing support on my Patreon. It's best way to support orcs. If you would like to see more content, subscribe and post comments below. It better not be bad.
Hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well. Well, until next week on my update number 3, I'll talk to you then.